Hello, magical people of the internet. I am Jen, and welcome to my vlog, I Never Thought I Would, where we talk about doing things that we never thought we would do and the amazing places that they can lead us. Today, we have a very special guest. We have writer, Atlanta based actor, and Army veteran, Danny M. Gray. Hi, Danny. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, no, thank you for having me, and I appreciate this opportunity.
You have a colorful resume. You have so much that you've accomplished in your life. So, can you tell us one thing? I know there's been several, but one thing that you never thought you would do and where it led you to.
I guess if I had to piece my mind back, it would be while I was serving in the military. And I used to visit my Uncle Larry in Richmond, Virginia. And he was the head of this corporation. And just seeing him maneuver and how he worked with people and seeing how he focused on the things that were important and how people looked up to him, it was exciting to see that. And so I never thought that would ever happen to me. I thought maybe I would just be a soldier, which being a soldier is great, but I thought I would just be a soldier. And so when I left the military and I started working in the corporate world and I began to watch my career blossom, it wasn't until one day I was sitting in a meeting with about 40 people. And everybody was looking to me as the leader to identify what the resolutions were going to be. And it was at that moment that I realized that all eyes were on me and I was in the same position that my uncle was in. And as I looked around the room, there were very few black men that was there. So being a black African American man, it really touched me to realize that all these people were coming to me for this solution and I was able to provide them with that solution. And so at that was the moment that I realized I never thought I would be in this position such as my uncle.
That's amazing. And do you think that being in the military helped you with your confidence and your leadership skills to be able to handle a room like that and handle the decision making that was addressed to you?
Oh, yes, indeed, for sure. In the military, you learn very quickly that there are situations that could be dire. And they happen all the time, especially when you're in a war zone and try to not make no mistakes. But you have to be dedicated to your decision and you have to focus on the people that are around you and make sure that you are dedicating yourself to keeping them safe and not making decisions that will destroy or kill or harm anyone. And so I think being in the military, being groomed in that position and realizing that the answers were with you and you had to make those decisions definitely positioned me for that.
I really can't imagine what it would be like to be in the military, but definitely would groom you to be a disciplined leader. It seems that it just the environment is conducive to bringing things out of people that they never knew they had inside of them.
Exactly. I mean, and you see that the only thing separating you from the enemy is 5 or 10 feet. And at any time, something can kick off. And knowing that your decisions had to be accurate and you had to really focus and stay mindful of those situations and be ready to serve at the highest levels at that point really grooms you and grow you and you have to be dedicated. You really have to have your mindset that I'm dedicated. The soldiers that are around me, I'm protecting them just as in the corporate world. If you are a director or you're a VP for an organization, the people that report under you, they are looking to you for that leadership and you have to be dedicated in your direction, but you also have to have an ear to listen. And so I think these things help shape who I am today.
There is this huge responsibility on the shoulders of leaders to lead correctly. and that they're not just making decisions for themselves, that they're responsible to their employees, they're responsible to their clients or their customers. And there has to be a network of trust in order for any corporation to run smoothly.
And when you think about it in the corporate world, when they hire you to come in this position, or they ask you or grow you to be in this position, they are looking at your character. They're looking at your decision making. They're looking at how you work well with others, because a corporation can't run with just one person. And so there are people that are around you that answer this. And I think about all the things, all the companies that I work for, and even to the extent of my life right now, how I have to dedicate myself to the direction that I want to go. I have to dedicate myself into my belief. I have to be careful with how people see me or how I present myself when I'm out there. It's all built in from the military. I started the military at a young age, and I've just stayed true to who I was. I've always focused on doing what was right, always focused on the people that I was around, but also focused on being dedicated and being the best that I can be. And no matter the situation, just being the best that I could be.
Now you've transitioned. You're no longer in the military. Are you still in the corporate world?
I still work in the corporate world, but I focus highly on the things that please me a little more.
You have a film that's out now that you are one of the leading actors in called The Holy Heist. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about this film?
Well, the Holy Heist is directed and produced by a young man by the name of Brigham McNeely out of North Carolina. And Brigham and I met a few years ago, but we've always said that we were going to do big things in this industry. And to this date, to his dedication, Brigham has done an outstanding job. But that movie gave me the opportunity to work with Dylan Mann. I've known him for years, and we had the opportunity to work together. And Greg, who is a great actor in his own right. But I was asked to play two roles in this movie. And Brigham asked me, did I think I could pull it off? And one was being a pastor, and the other was being a detective. Well, being a detective is very easy. I mean, that's my whole background in the military is just, being direct and doing what you need to do. Being a pastor also comes from my background. I grew up in a Christian background, so that was very easy to do as well. And it's easy to pick characters from those two backgrounds, and so it was easy to do that. But the movie The Holy Heist is basically a pastor that brings three young men into the church, into his congregation at an early age, and he watches these young men grow. But over the years, these young men decide that they want to do things a little differently, and something happens in Pastor Danny's life that make me move into the detective realm of the movie. And I am looking at these three guys because one, I'm a little disappointed that they didn't continue down the road of Christianity or the religious belief, but that what they're doing is careless and they have to be consequences. And so I'm tracking these guys, and these guys get in some serious trouble that caused me and us to bump head and run into each other again. And so the Holy Heist, it's a little bit about redemption. These guys are very upset that they crossed this path of evil and destruction, and now they are redeeming themselves to coming back to the spiritual realm.
That sounds like a fantastic movie. So, where can we find that? Where can we watch it?
Oh, that movie is now being shown on Amazon. So you can search for The Holy Heist on Amazon.com. You can see it on Tubi as well. It's being shown there. And the movie is doing very well. It has a very solid storyline from beginning to end. It walks you down the path of how these guys grew into doing what they're doing, but also why they're doing it. And when you see that movie, you're gonna say, "Wow, I didn't see this happening," because it's very different at the end from other inspirational movies.
We'll have the Amazon link below. So you have a book out too. You are so multi-talented. It's phenomenal. It's so impressive, Danny. So you have a book out called Dedication's Price. Can you tell us a little bit about where you got the idea to write this book? You said it's a thriller and a mystery. So, where did you get the idea to write Dedication's Price, and how did this book come about?
I started writing in the military and I've done several pieces and books. But when I started to produce this book, my main goal was to get a book that was inspirational for my community. And I wanted to show um, a Black man in a positive light. And so when you look at the book, it's about a guy that has dedicated himself to everything in his life, a little bit like me, if you will. Although the book is not based on me, but he dedicated himself to his high school football, dedicated himself to college and college football, and he retired out of the military with distinguished honors. At this point, he's bought into a software company that he owns. And again, you see the lines with the military and with the software organizations, but he's part owner in this organization, and on the eve of them beginning to release this big software project, and it's been getting rave reviews. The company is getting ready to go public, and something happens. And as they begin to investigate this instance of this tragedy that happened within his organization, they begin to look at him and they question whether he was always as dedicated as people have made him out to be, in the army, military, football, and everything. Or was it just a word used because of who he was? And so his dedication and his character is being questioned throughout this book. And this tragedy lies very close to him.
That sounds fascinating. It's so interesting how sometimes in life people can work really hard and they finally make it to the top and they did all the right things, all the right ways. But just the fact that they made it to the top is enough to make people around them question their character, question their actions, dig into their history, and try to find something to bring them down.
Yes, that is true. And so many people walk that path. Some people never make it to that senior level in a corporate organization, but they do all the right things. And so many times they're still questioned. They work hard, they've invested their money wisely, they have grown up the ladder, and their people are looking into their past to see or identify anything that can destroy them. And that was one of the reasons I did the book, because this guy had did everything right. He just
Mm.
happened to have some talents. He dedicated himself to the military. All those things pushed him beyond where he thought he could be. But now this tragedy has happened, and they are looking at him and they're scrutinizing everything within his life.
It's so interesting how success becomes this like trigger of suspicion because everybody wants to be successful. I don't think there's a single person you could go up to on the street and say, "Hey, do you want us to be successful?" "Nah, I'm good." I don't think anyone would ever react that way. So, because so many people are striving for success, but the majority of people fall short,
That is true.
it's like we're convinced that if somebody cracks the code, they must have done something illegal, they must be doing some sort of voodoo ritual, there must be something sinister going on with this person, because how come they can get there and I can't?
When you analyze that, some people get lucky. I mean, some people hit the lottery, which is good. Some
Yeah.
people work hard and they invest their money wisely, which is good. But some people aren't. For the biggest part, it's dedication.
Yeah.
It's dedicating yourself to your craft, to your art, and you have to see yourself beyond today. And I never forget when my book Dedication Price first came in the mail for me to review and look at. I broke down in tears. I never thought that I would see my name or a truly well written book by me given to me. And I read the book and I read it over and over before I made my final decisions. But I had reached that level that I never thought I would see, and how I dedicated myself day in and day out after coming home from work, instead of going out to play golf on Saturday, sitting down writing the book. And it's that dedication that will get you there. And I would encourage anybody to, please, if you see something you want to do, make sure it's something you love. It makes that dedication that much more easier.
Well, exactly. That's the difference. And that's the tipping point. You and I both understand because we've dedicated ourselves and we've written books, and the commitment and the time and the energy that it takes and the rewrites. It's not just about writing the book once, but rewriting it and taking feedback and taking criticism and getting discouraged and having your feelings hurt because you thought it was better than somebody else thought it was, and they're like, oh no, no, you need to fix this. And you're like, what do you mean, it's great, I wrote a book. So that's really the tipping point, is what people don't understand is the amount of blood and sweat and tears and time that take into building a success, and those are all things that happen behind the scenes.
Yes, my agent, he said the first thing you have to learn how to do is to let the baby grow up. And in other words, you have to let it go. We create this, we write this book, we know every word, or we think we know every word. We see where we're trying to go, and then someone looks at the book and say, "Hey, that makes no sense." And you say, "It has to." And when you start reading it word by word, you realize it doesn't make any sense. Or taking that criticism, maybe this should happen, or maybe you drive it in this direction. And it's so hard to do that because we are so embedded in that book, that direction that we see, that success. And if you can let the baby grow up, you can be successful.
That is such a fantastic statement. I love that. I've never, I don't think I've ever heard anyone put it in those words, to let the baby grow up. And
Yes,
it's
yes,
true. We birth these ideas. The first incarnation or the first draft is the infant.
yes.
It's that infantile stage, and we stumble through it a lot of the time. We stumble through just getting the idea down, just getting the basic plot outlined. Just, our characters are still kind of shells of people as opposed to fully fleshed out three-dimensional beings.
Just what you said, it's an infant, right? When you first begin this, and just like a baby being born, you don't really know how tall they're going to be. You don't know how heavy they're going to be. You don't know if they're going to be bald headed, or you don't know, but you have to allow that baby to grow up. And that includes making mistakes. And so when you're writing this, and I like the fact that you said these characters are just characters on a paper. But once you identify the characters, you can start going back into your memory of people that you've met, people that fit that mold, or you see them fitting that mold, and you can begin to nurture it, and allow it to grow. Just like your mother or father do for you when you're growing up. They let you make mistakes, but they also keep nurturing you, pushing you in a different direction, or saying, look at this, because they see things that you can't see. And so when people come to you with these things, you have to look at them as they're helping you. They're not trying to hurt you.
One of the biggest lessons that we have to embrace as artists is to be able to take criticism, because ultimately we are not writing the book just so we could have a fancy cover with our name on it, just to sit on our shelf in our home. We wrote the book for other people to read and other people to enjoy. And any part of the creative process takes a village. You need other people's feedback, you need other people's encouragement just as much as you need feedback. You need your champions cheering you on. And a lot of the criticisms or feedback, it's not because people are trying to hurt you, they really are trying to help. And if we can reframe it through that lens, it'll get us to the finish line a little sooner.
That is so true. And um, because the first thing, you're trusting in people that you love, people that you really believe have your back or have always been there. And so when they give you criticism, or positives or things to do differently, you have to believe that it's coming from a place of love. and not anything else. Yeah, there are those out there that's trying to throw a stone, but they are trying to help you to grow and be the best that you can be. And I like what you said, because anybody can take a picture and put it on a shelf and say, "Hey, this is my book." But you want a book that is out there and people can read, they can feel it, they know that this is definitely from you. And that's the end goal. It's not to have that book sitting on a shelf that nobody has ever read. It's a book that will outlive you, in fact.
Definitely. So tell us, where can we find your book?
Oh, yeah, you can go to my website, dedicationsprice.com, and you can find it there. But you can also search on Amazon or Books a Million, or you can search on Barnes and Nobles. You can either search by Danny M. Gray, or you can search for Dedications Price. Always remember to put that S on it, because sometimes if you don't, you won't find that. You'll get a list of other things. You can read the reviews, and hopefully you'll pick up the book. And it's also available on Kindle. It's paperback and hardback.
Well, I'm so excited. I can't wait to get my copy. It sounds like a thrilling experience. And thank you so much, Danny, for taking the time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoyed your story. And I want to thank everyone out there in the interweb. Thank you for tuning in. Check out Danny's book, Dedications Price, and also check out his film, The Holy Heist.
Make sure you get your copy. If you read it on Kindle, that's great. But thanks everybody for taking the opportunity to listen at me and continue to take care of yourself. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it. And thank you for what you're doing. It's very important that we understand it's people like you that keep the word going around. And when we are authors, many of us never get known. There are those great big giant names that are out there that will always be out there. So any opportunity we get to tell you who we are is surely appreciated. So thank you so much.
My pleasure, Danny. Thanks so much for coming on. Thank you all again for tuning in. And I'd like to challenge everyone out there to do something that you never thought you would do, because you never know the spectacular places where it might lead you. And if you've already done something like that, let us know what it was and where you led yourself to in the comments. I can't wait to hear about it. Thank you so much and have a magical day. Oh, and don't forget to like and subscribe.